All right, let's get started with the first 3 exercises in this pillar core series. The first one is the most basic foundational way I can teach you to engage your core or fire that core. It's called the pelvic tilt. Very simple. We're going to think about tilting our pelvis. It also activates and moves or mobilizes the lumbar spine. So all Raisa's going to do here is push her belly button in toward her spine or pull it in toward her spine, activate, pushing her lower lumbar back into the floor. You can see how her shirt kind of wrinkles up. You should see those rib cage protrusions or the edges of your rib cage here pull in, and that lumbar spine flatten to the floor. We're going to get started with round 1. Begin. Push and hold and breathe. Breathing as you brace these abdominal muscles, as you pull the rib cage in, changes. Your breathing pattern is different. Just like when they coach you on picking something heavy up, they tell you got to breathe a certain way, especially in the gym when you're doing repeated repetitions or repetitions of deadlifts or something like that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is where it all comes together and becomes very essential to think about your breathing when you're bracing your spine. Ready? Round 2, get set, and begin. Push that in tight, and breathe. Try to breathe calmly. If you're really engaging maximum effort neural patterns here and bracing around that spine, pulling those muscles in, squeezing tight, pushing that back, you'll start to tremble and shake. And that's fine. That shows you that you're doing the work needed. And then when you focus on smooth, steady breathing with this, it makes you want to tremble and shake as well. You're just overloading that neural system, which is the whole focus of these isometric exercises. And rest. Very good. Pelvic tilt, stage 1. We're going to build on the pelvic tilt here. We're going to go into what's called a crunch and hold. The crunch and hold is, again, bracing that lumbar spine, but now we're going to overload more of those abdominal muscles, especially the rectus abdominis, which is your six-pack, running from the sternum to the pubis. So right there, we're going to shorten that region and engage or contract those muscles. First, I'm going to have Raisa pull her knees up off the ground. Or feet up off the ground, knees up, just a soft, you can kind of relax that lower leg, knees just activate up. She's now pushing that lumbar spine into the ground, and she'll crunch her head up toward her knees slightly, eyes up toward the corner, and we'll begin round 1. This one gets hard, 30 seconds, and if you're really engaging those muscles, you're gonna tremble and shake. Not sure if you can see it on here, on the film, but she's working really hard to maintain that position, that activation, and her breathing. You can also brace through those hands, use your arms if you need to a little bit. 10 seconds left. Continue, hold that lower belly, that lumbar spine tight against the ground. And rest. Good. Take a breath, nice big breath, relax that angle of the spine. It should curve right back up to toward the ceiling. That's the natural curvature of your spine. Okay, as you're going, if your neck starts to get tired, you can really simply just put your head down, but maintain your crunch and maintain your back to the floor. It will eliminate some of the crunch, but it still puts a little overload on those abdominal muscles with the knees up. You could also put your hands behind your head softly, not interlocking your fingers, just supporting that head, and you can crunch it back up to hold. This might help with that neck discomfort. Ready, set, and begin. Round 2. Relax these legs here. Pull those knees up high to get that back, that lower back real flat to the floor. Control your breathing. Squeeze tight. Right there in the center of your belly. The lack of movement is what creates that shake and tremble. Those muscles really, they're more comfortable moving than they are just holding and fighting movement. That's a big challenge of these isometric exercises. 5, you should start to feel some fatigue, maybe a burn there, and rest. Exercise number 3, that's going to be our pelvic tilt plus a hip bridge. Now we're taking it below the pelvis and targeting more of those lower body core muscles, especially the glutes and hip extension. The glutes are your powerhouse muscles, so this one's going to be one of the strongest movements you have. Again, we want to readjust, make sure those toes are pointed forward, knees are hip width apart or a little wider. And then we're going into the pelvic tilt. Begin, and then drive your butt cheeks up right there. Exactly, 30-second hold. You want to look for a straight line from the knee to the hip bone to that shoulder. If you have restricted knee mobility and or tight hip flexors or quadriceps, you may not achieve that quite yet. Squeeze your butt cheeks, squeeze your hamstrings, brace your spine or brace your core, belly in. Don't drive through your belly. The whole point is to push through your pelvis and through those butt cheeks. Control your breathing for 3, 2, 1, and rest. Set it down nice and slow, and then disengage your core. So disengage the hips by setting those pelvic bones down, and then disengage that pelvic tilt through your abdominals. Ready? First, pelvic tilt. Second, drive the hips. We always start this one off with that pelvic tilt because we don't want to push through our spine or through our belly. This is all about driving through those butt cheeks, hamstrings, and bracing that lumbar spine to protect it. 15 seconds, we're almost done. Really give it a good tight squeeze. Every so often you may want to re-engage. You may feel it disengage a little bit. That neural connection and those neural commands only come out at max effort for a short amount of time. And rest. You'll want to re-engage and give full conscious effort the whole time to get the most out of this. Great job. Okay, now we've turned over, we're going into what's called the quadruped position. This is our second set of 3 exercises for the Pillow Core series. The quadruped position starts, again, postural cues. Everything's in a nice alignment. Her toes, ankles, knees, and hips all match in width. So her knees are directly below her hips. And then our hands, elbows all match in width so that her hands are directly below the shoulders. That's table. We have a nice flat back. Collapse your spine to the floor. Show them what it would look like if they arched. Yeah. You might know that as the cat, the cow from the cat and the cow, and then vice versa, that's your cat. We want it flat. Like I was gonna set a cup of tea on your back there. All right, so this is your quadruped position. From here, we're gonna build our next 3 exercises. The very first of those 3 is gonna be what's called skydiver. So we're actually gonna go down to the floor. We'll get back to the quadruped in a moment. The belly down or prone position here. This is a risky one if you have lower back issues, so be cautious with this. It's a modified Superman, and the Superman is notorious for being discomforting through the lower back. Another version or another name I've used for this is just buns and blades, because all I want moving is the buns and the shoulder blades here. So let's begin with our first skydiver. You're going to squeeze your shoulder blades and squeeze your buns. You're picking the legs up. Ready, set, go. Legs come up, elbows and upper arms come up, and lower arms also kind of rotate or pin back through those shoulder blades. You can leave the head on the ground to kind of relax it. You do have to focus on pulling your belly in and breathing steadily here. If this does cause back pain, you could easily just put your legs down and focus only on the shoulder blade portion of this. 3, 2, 1, and rest. Go ahead and rest everything. We're going to do it one more time. If you don't have any back pain and you are a little bit more mobile, again, this is not arching your back, so keep your belly pinned in and engaged, but you could also pick your head up maybe an inch off of the floor. Let's begin round 2. Good. She's doing a great job keeping her toes loaded up toward her shins, pulled up and pointed down to the floor. Squeezing the buns, squeezing the shoulder blades, breathing and bracing through the spine. And this is our last one that we're doing for 30 seconds for this video. Squeeze those shoulder blades back. Keep everything hyper engaged. Obviously don't cramp. Breathe and rest. Good job. Okay, next we're going into back to that quadruped position. And we're gonna do what's called a hip extension. Very simple. We worked on hip extensions from our pelvic tilt. Now we're gonna do it unilaterally with one leg. And this is gonna become a stability exercise for our lower back and our pelvic region, as well as our hips, all the way down to the heels here. So she's set back up in her in her quadruped, nice flat table-like position. For hip extension, we're simply pushing one leg back. Let's begin with our left leg. We're gonna do a 15-second hold, push it back and extend, begin. Now, we wanna make sure our hips do not turn and our toes stay pointed at the ground. So we turn or square those hips up to fight what our body wants to do, which would be open back to this wall. And then you can use all kinds of cheating mechanisms. You can rest. That was actually 20 seconds. Let's go to the other side. I think 20 seconds is appropriate. Ready, set, begin. If at any time during these videos you feel like we're going too long for you or you're starting to feel something out of place, then you can obviously set it down shorter. You don't have to start with 20 seconds or 30 seconds. You can even start with just 5 seconds. Good, she's got her shoulders square, pinned in and down, or back and down, and you can rest. Let's do round 2. Back to left side. Get ready, set, begin, left side back. And then if you have toe problems, you saw she had her toes back behind her a second ago, you can do that as well. But having that toe down is very important for being able to stabilize through all these points of balance when you remove 1 point. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Same thing other side, and I bet you guys have a better view of Rice's core. I know she's not letting it collapse because I can see from here, but you'll see her belly is pulled up and in this whole time. Side B, round 2, get ready. Let's begin. Right there. And she's also doing a great job not hyperextending this leg up to the sky. What would happen if she tried to push up to the sky, she would arch her back and she would cheat usually. So we want to have it straight back to the wall behind her like she's trying to squish a bug on the wall. 3, 2, 1, and rest. Great job. The final exercise also comes from the quadruped position, and it's tougher. We're going to remove, instead of just one base of support, we're going to remove a lower and an upper body, taking you just to the 1, 2, 3 points of contact on the floor. So let's start with left leg and right arm, and we're going to extend those both to the walls in opposite directions, technically flexing the shoulder here and extending the hip back here. And we're also engaging that planted side shoulder blade and the planted hip. It's not easy. It's a lot of stability and balance and breathing and focusing on protecting your spine. And you can rest for round 1. Side B, round 1, get ready. And good point. I think you're feeling your wrists a little bit there, right? So show them what a fist would look like. You can also go to a fist and just stabilize on your fist. Now, she's not very comfortable doing that, so she's probably just gonna work her wrists out a little bit between the sets and go back into it. Get ready? Side B, let's begin. Bird dogs, we call these. Like that dog's found his bird and he's letting you know where it's at. You're pointing right at it. You're pointing straight back. These are coming out in nice straight lines that go parallel to the spine. They should not be coming out at big flared angles, pushing out away from the midline. Rest. Good. Side B, round 2. Get ready. Get set. Begin. That's it. Yep. Great. Hands straight toward that wall behind you. Heel straight. Belly pulled in. Hips and shoulders stay square to the ground in front of you. 3. Oh, I was ahead of time. Now we're at 3, 2, 1, and rest. Final round. Get ready. Set. Begin. Right back there. Now, the sides that are off the ground are obviously ones we're focusing on squeezing the hips, the glutes, the back, pushing back, squeezing the shoulder. But a lot of the work is actually being done on these planted sides, stabilizing, bracing, and controlling. You can rest. Nicely done. Good work. All right, we're gonna finish up the pillar core series with the plank and the side planks, 2 of the more higher intensity exercises, higher demand, and we'll show you a couple ways to modify these to get started. So we'll have Rice start by just lying down on her belly in the prone position. We're gonna bring our elbows directly under the shoulders. And so again, back to our postural cueing. We may go a little wider in our feet, but all the way through that lower body kinetic chain, up through the spine and the shoulders. Posture remains very much intact in this exercise. It's really the whole point, is not to bend, not to twist, is to maintain good square posture. So her shoulder blades will make sure they're down and away, don't over squeeze right now. And her head stays elongated out over right about wrist level, elbows directly under her shoulders. Then what we'll do is we'll start the modified version of the plank. Now the main focal point, don't start yet, main focal point of the plank is going to be right here in that lumbar spine. So we have to work to keep our abdominal muscles engaged, just like we've learned from the very first pillar core exercise. And all the way back to our first video on postural positions. So modified version is going to be on the knees stay down, and Riza's going to go ahead and pick herself up. We'll get started with a 30-second plank, modified version. Hold right there, and breathe. Brace and breathe. Nice long spine, belly pulled in, shoulders active. You can see her working through that upper body. You can see how much she's putting into the plank because she's shaking and trembling. That's the best thing you can do. The more you put into these, the more you'll get out of them. Obviously, don't cramp up and squeeze too tight. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Rest. We'll go round 2 from the full version. It's going to be a challenge. Full version goes from the toes now. Picks those knees up and begin. Again, it's called a plank because we want to see that you're nice and straight. Squeeze the buns. Squeeze your glutes. Squeezing the glutes in this position is uncommon to hear about. You're not squeezing anymore. Squeeze and hold. And it makes the exercise completely different. It makes it much harder to squeeze your glutes. Let's re-engage, squeeze. And if you feel like it disengages, like you can see here, just re-engage and hold, almost there, and rest. Good. The plank. It's no joke, right? Feel that? Yeah, it's tough. I'm gonna cut it right there. All right, on to the side plank. This gets even tougher for the upper body because you're just going onto one arm and you're holding a lot of your body weight. So again, we're going to start with a modified version. Side plank, you're going to be lying down on your side. As you can see, Rice is here. You're going to curl those knees into about a 90-degree angle, and the knee is going to come back almost to directly below the hip. So there's a little bit of curvature here, but you're trying to line it up below you and stack those thighs below you. Then you have your hip to shoulder line. All you're gonna do is simply pick that up and hold it in a nice straight angle. So through the spine, we have this nice straight line here. Her hips are squared up to the wall in front of her and her shoulders remain square. She does not let that ear jam, or that shoulder blade, that lower shoulder blade jam up to her ear, and she's gonna keep her head in a nice straight angle. For another 10 seconds here, she's controlling her breathing, bracing the spine, and just maintaining that position. 4, 3, 2, 1. Set it down. We'll give her a second to shake that arm off a little bit and move around if she needs to. And then we move on to the full plank, where she's going to go in that same setup, but she's going to now extend the feet below her and use the side of her shoe. And instead of using the side of the shoe, I want her to get up on here. Move this here. I want her to get up on the bottom of her foot. So she's going to kind of jam that lateral edge of her shoe into the floor. You can stack your feet, or you can bring one foot behind or in front of the other. Right now, at the beginning stages, just do what you can and what feels all right for you. Get ready, get set, pick it up and hold. So she's chosen to put that foot behind her. It's fine. It does change a little bit of the pressure in her hips. The main focus, again, is keeping good postural position. Essentially, we're squared up through the hips, we're squared up through the shoulders, shoulder blades are down and away, core is bracing tightly, everything is distributed so that she can maintain this position as long as she can, strong through the spine. 3, 2, 1, and rest. We're gonna have a flip ends. And this is really, really tough for the upper body. So again, you don't have to maintain this for the full 30 seconds if you're not quite ready for that. Or you can repeat the video and do it more if you need more of a challenge. We're gonna start with the modified version on side B. Stack that a little lower below you. Yeah, right there. Get ready, set, pick it up. Nice straight line spine, good. And you're just bracing and breathing. Time is the challenge here. Time under tension is another way to make sure your neural system has plenty of challenge and repetition in these positions. It also increases strength levels and increases muscle mass. Time under tension. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. That final round, full side plank. It's tough. Make sure you're not twisting, bending, or collapsing in the spine. That pillar core is solid. Ready, set, begin. You want to stack that top foot behind you like you did on the other side. There you go. Good. Good, you're pulling your belly in, bracing, shoulder blade maybe the main thing you need to think about, keeping it down in a way as things get more tired. But you also got to think about that soft tissue right between the rib cage and the hip bone. That's your obliques and your lateral flexors, some deep core muscles in there. 2, 1, and rest. Good job. Nice work, everyone.